Welcome to Money 911, the show where we'll explore health, wealth, and peace of mind. Because true prosperity is about far more than money. Today's guest has a front row seat to history, from U.S. presidents to the Olympics, from the World Series to 35 straight Super Bowls. He has not spent decades telling stories that shaped our nation, but the most powerful story he tells today is not about sports. It's about character. It's about leadership. And it's about something our world desperately needs right now: civility. Scott Murray is a multi-Emmy award-winning NBC television journalist, a living legend of journalism, a Silver Circle Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, and one of the most respected voices in American broadcasting. But what makes Scott extraordinary is not just the events he covered, it's the lives he's impacted. He's a keynote speaker, author, philanthropist, cancer survivor, and founder of the Scott Murray Scholarship Foundation, and a passionate advocate for young people, leadership, and a culture of kindness. His message is simple and powerful. Living life is not about me. A purposeful life is about we. Scott Murray, welcome to Money 911. All right, Scott, it's so fabulous to have you here on Money 911.
Well, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you here. I'm just so impressed. I met you at the Bible Museum, and I did a workshop there on estate planning and safe money. And actually, I had met you at the philanthropy workshop, and that's what really got me, was the heart
That's
of
right.
giving, right?
I remember that. Yeah, we were both in second grade.
That's about it. Yeah, right. But when I never really, chased your bio or anything, but you've covered the most historic events in the world, from the Olympics, Super Bowls, presidents. But I wanted to start with this. What moment in your career, right, has moved your heart the most?
Oh gosh, nobody ever really asked me that question. I don't know. Probably not sporting events, though I cherish all of those. That there were many, and I could, spend all night talking about some of the events that I've been. We even as recently as the Olympics, and in Italy this year. But let's see, 36 years ago, they were or excuse me, 46 years ago, they were in Lake Placid, New York. And that's the last time the American hockey team, the men's team, won the gold medal. And I was at that game and interviewed Mike Eruzione, the man that got the goal on the Friday afternoon against the Russians. And then Sunday, the Americans beat Finland to wrap up the gold medal, and that was the last time they'd won until they won just this year in Milan, Italy.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was really something. I was just a punk kid just out of college, and that was my first job, and my first Olympics. So that was very exciting. But I don't know. I remember meeting Jesse Owens, and we became friends before he passed away. I had met him when I was in college, and my mother had purchased a book. She was from Alabama, and she had purchased a book on the biography of Jesse Owens, and said this was a remarkable man, born back, about the time of the sinking of the Titanic. And I said, really? He said, yeah, it was back in 2012, 2013. 1912, 1913. And my mother said he was a remarkable man. And then, of course, went on to become the first American to win 4 gold medals in an Olympic game. And in track and field, it was just above and beyond. But so it was really neat to meet him. I'm just trying to think of, I would imagine it wasn't sporting events, as I said. It would have to be meeting youngsters that were, I emceed the Jerry Lewis Labor Day Telethon for the Muscular Dystrophy Association at NBC in Dallas for 27 years. And meeting some of those youngsters and getting to meet Jerry Lewis and Ed McMahon and just so many other people like that. But it was all for these kiddos that just had one of the most insidious diseases. You know, they couldn't move, they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. And I remember little Tommy passing away at age 5, had Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Also, youngsters that I got to meet that had cancer. I've done so much with kids. I still am on the board, the founding board of Wipeout Kids Cancer, a children's cancer fund that Roger Staubach started with that organization. Then Troy Aikman got involved, and now Dak Prescott, the Cowboys quarterback, is involved. It's just very, very special. So anything to do with kiddos. I lost my best friend to leukemia when we were both in 2nd grade. Wow. We weren't trick-or-treating on the 31st of October. And then 4 days later, I walked into my class November 3rd. And here, it's crazy that I remember my 2nd grade teacher, Mrs. Molden, but I looked around and my best buddy, Frankie, wasn't there, who I'd gone trick-or-treating with. And I looked around the classroom and I saw Frankie's parents over there. And I said, Mrs. Molden, why are Frankie's parents here? She said, Scotty, you go sit down. We'll tell you in a minute. Well, they were there because they were there to tell us that Frankie had leukemia and he was gone before the end of the school year. So I vowed I was going to be a pediatrician and find a cure for childhood cancer. Haven't done that yet, but certainly have done a lot with youngsters and in particular cancer, leukemia, muscular dystrophy. So it's just it's been very special. That's really been even though I spent 30 years as a broadcaster, as a sports anchor, and then another 10 years doing another nonprofit show, Wipeout Kids Cancer, I'm trying to think of Talk Street. That was it. I couldn't think of remember the name of the nonprofit, but Talk Street. I stayed and did that at NBC5. And then I did a show called Conversations with Scott Murray. Did that for another 7, 8 years. And we just interviewed some of the most incredible people you'd ever want to be a part of. The highlight of my professional career, despite all the wonderful sports things that I had a chance to meet, and the Hall of Famers and the Super Bowl champions and Olympic gold medalists and whatever, was going to Normandy on the 70th anniversary of D-Day with my son. Who is my business partner with our television production company, Murray Media and Murray Media World. And we went over to Normandy on the 70th anniversary of D-Day with 24 World War II vets, all in their 90s. Wow. And they had a son or a daughter in their 60s or 70s who came along with them. And we were on a bus for 2 weeks, went to Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, and back to France. And it was just unbelievable and got, as you can imagine, very emotional. Well, cut to the chase, both my son and I, he shot the whole thing and I interviewed him and wrote the documentary, and we both won an Emmy. It was unbelievable. No doubt. So we were asked to go to Pearl Harbor on the 75th and with a bunch of, did the same thing as we'd done over in Normandy. So it was just, those are just special times, and those are special men, the children and the members of our military that put their life on the line for us all every single day. Yes. It doesn't get any better than that. So
absolutely. Wow. It's so amazing. Each one of those stories is a whole separate broadcast, just the Normandy in itself. But
absolutely.
Right. But your creed, it begins with a powerful line, and living life, right, is not about me. It's a purposeful life is about we.
Oh, well, that's my book that came out a couple of months ago. It was first of all, the way that got started is that my keynote that I give across the country is Leadership America, creating champions of change through a culture of civility, because we've lost the ability to be kind, courteous, and respectful, and it's so sad. Yeah, it's a much different world than the one I grew up as a young man. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to set the tone. I like writing poetry and things like that. And my parents were real good about it. I remember the one that my parents always shared with me about, I have to make sure that I become a good father someday, but I'm only going to be a good father if I'm kind, courteous, and respectful to my children, and teach them what's important, and teach them about leadership, and teach them about integrity, and just moving forward in a positive, productive way so that you have great purpose in your life. And so they had this poem that they used to share with me all the time. It says, I got 2 A's, the small boy cried. His voice was filled with glee. His mother turned and rudely said, but why didn't you get 3? Mom, I've got the dishes done, the girl called from the door. Her mother turned and rudely said, but did you sweep the floor? I mowed the grass, the tall boy said. I put the mower away. His father turned and rudely said, but did you clean off all the clay? Now, the children of the house next door seemed happy and content. The same thing happened over there, but this is how it went. I got 2 A's, the small boy cried. His voice was filled with glee. His mother turned and smiled and said, I'm glad you live with me. Mom, I've got the dishes done, the girl called from the door. Her mother turned and smiled and said, each day I love you more.
Oh,
I mowed the grass, the tall boy said. I put the mower away. His father turned and smiled and said, you've made me happy today. Children desire a little praise. They're things they're asked to do. If they're to lead a happy life, so much depends on you. And therein lies the key. My mother used to come up with all kinds of poems that she used to, and it was just so much fun. But so many of them dealt with children, or with just being just a solid citizen, and just being kind, courteous, and respectful in what we do. So last summer, I was sitting around, and I just, I started writing a couple of poems that I was going to use in my nonprofit. I sign off my broadcast. I said, live your life as a go-getter, but share your life as a go-giver. And so, as a matter of fact, that one's in the new book I wrote. I wrote a poem around that one, being not just a go-getter, but a go-giver, and making a difference in the lives of those that need it most. But as you made note of a moment ago, my creed for my Leadership America creed, for what I speak about, goes like this. Living life is not just about me. A purposeful life is all about we, sharing together all that we see, even though we might not always agree. Respectful and kind is forever key. Truthful and transparent is what we should be. Eradicating the anger and the hateful debris. Live not in a world where we need referees. So let us move forward in a place we foresee, diverse and inclusive for both he and she. Matters not religion nor race. Faith is for thee. We must live in a world that's our home of the free. And that's what it's all about. And that's what all the poems are like. They're all 3 verses, just like that one, short and sweet, but hopefully to the point that it shares just a message. And I've taken words, I took 125 words like courage, commitment, character, kindness, courtesy, respect, honesty, integrity, mother, father, faith, family, anything like that. That kind of, are words that we all deal with on a regular basis every single day.
right.
And so have gotten great response. So I'm very pleased. And it's amazing that the folks at Amazon and the publisher, they told me that they can't believe the cross section of people that are interested in the book. It's not just for 8-year-olds or 10-year-olds or 20-year-olds, but even grandmothers and grandfathers are reading it to their 8 and 10-year-olds or whatever. So it's something that we all, no matter what our age might be, what our race or nationality or creed or whatever, it's about being respectful, kind, and courteous to everybody that we are in contact with in our life, so that we can move forward in a positive, productive way.
That's it right there. That's the essence of everything, and that's the gold and the value. And I just hear your poems like songs to be taught to everybody. And like you said, it doesn't really matter what age. Well, you speak about the I factor, the power of the individual. So, how can they develop the courage to believe in themselves when the world is telling them what or who they should be, or they're not enough, or right?
Well, the I factor is 7 words that all begin with the letter I, intelligence, intensity, integrity, involvement, influence, inspirational, impactful, and inspirational. And it's just what we need to. The I stands for the individual. It's the person that looks back at you in the mirror every morning when you get up and get ready to move forward in whatever day you are going to be a part of. And you do it with intelligence, with intensity, and with integrity, with involvement, with influence, impactful, inspirational. Those are the lucky 7 words. And so put them all to good use. Another thing that I've shared that another keynote that I did years ago before the one that I do now, that I said that one now that I do, I'll share you in detail. I'll get to that in a moment. But this one was called the Pyramid of Power. And the Pyramid of Power, if you look at a triangle, it's a pyramid. There's 3 sides to it. And so what do we strive for in life? Peace, perfection, prosperity. Peace, certainly what we all want to be a part of every single day. Perfection, we all want to strive to be perfect every day. Our Lord Jesus Christ is the only one that was
Amen.
perfect 100% of the time. And then prosperity. Yeah, prosperity. We all strive so we can support our families, support our friends, help be philanthropic and give a little money back to those that need a helping hand. But it's all part of the pyramid of power. And these words all start with the letter P, and that stands for people. It stands for a population, but it stands for you, the individual, the person. So just like the individual, you're the person. You're a person, which is part of a large group of people and the entire population of our global world. So you take that peace, perfection, and prosperity, the pyramid of power, and you come up with the 15 words that are in there that all start in that pyramid. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It starts with your passion. That's your vision, your goal, your dream, your desire, where you want to get to, where you want to be. But you can have that dream and that desire to get there, but unless you put it to fruition, it's never going to come to fruition if you don't put it to good use. So you take that passion, that's where it starts. And with that passion, you put with it preparation, then perseverance, then staying positive, productive, professional, poised, patient, prompt, polite, understanding partnerships and how you come together with people and are respected by one another. And then, of course, we always want to remember pride. Look in that mirror every morning when you get up. Remember that person looking back at you. That's what you want.
Right.
Pride. You want that, peace, perfection, and prosperity. You want that pride. Okay. And then after pride, something we talked about before, philanthropy. Philanthropy. That's what you've got to, not just a go-getter, but a go-giver. So you have to have that philanthropy. And then you get to principles. You want to surround yourself with somebody that you can count on, that you can trust. It's the trifecta. 3 words that all start with the letter T. Truthful, trustworthy, transparent. That's what you need to be. That's what I need to be. That's what everybody that we're in business with or in friendship with. It doesn't matter who it is, family, friends, whatever. You want to have that trifecta of T's.
Yeah.
And then you get to the very top, the last word that starts with the letter P. It's what you do every single day. It's your purpose. Right. Who you are, what you're all about, the difference you're going to make, the lives you're going to touch, who you are, and what your legacy is going to be someday. That's your purpose. Whether it's for charity, whether it's for your family, it doesn't matter. It's your purpose in everything you do. So, and then I said before I started to talk about letters, we talked about the I factor, we talked about the P's and the pyramid of power. The one that I do now is that Leadership America that I mentioned a moment ago with the poems and the book I've written. And that's what I start with C's. It's all words that start with C's, because what do we strive to be in life? We want to be a champion. That's what we want to be. We want to be a champion. So that champion is what is going to set you apart from everybody else. So how do you become a champion? Through courage, commitment, character, compassion, not confrontation, but conversation. Just having respect and what have you for whoever you're talking to, listening to what they have to say, and then sharing what you think your values and your point of view is on whatever it might be. But that's what you want. Courage, commitment, character, compassion, not confrontation, but conversation. And then you can put some other words with it. Credibility, C words, again, C words to get you to that perfect 10. Credibility, continuity, creativity, consistency, and confidence. You always want to have confidence. Believe in yourself, respect yourself, and believe in yourself. Know who you are and what you're all about. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I love you so much. I think that needs to be curriculum in the school. Have you done that yet? I mean, that is just amazing.
Well, I've spoken to a lot of schools. I speak to a lot of young people, and it's really kind of sad. Some of this, it doesn't much matter whether you're talking to high school kids, college kids, or even grade school kids, junior high or whatever. They just, that believability of believing who they are, what they're all about, and just trusting in just what they represent as a person. It's just not there the way it used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of our phones and all the
exactly. That's it right there. Yeah.
Oh gosh,
in the way that the whole
Yeah, it's so sad, but
it
is what it is.
It is.
Yeah, social media is something.
It is. Yeah. Well, it's still, I mean, I'm glad you're out there talking about really these are the most important things that we can. This is our treasures in heaven. This is the gold.
Right.
Like, you've received countless awards and humanitarian citizen of the year, Emmys, but you say your favorite is Father of the Year, right? What's your most meaningful?
I was named Father of the Year here in Texas back in 2002. And I just, I think of my two kiddos. Those are my two greatest virtues, my two greatest awards, my two greatest. I'm trying to think of the best word to define them as. But my son and daughter are just, I'm so proud of them. Yeah. They're just incredible. They're just the best, and they've become so successful. My son, that's how I left television after doing as a sports anchor, left after 30 years, as my son said, "Dad, you're speaking or emceeing hundreds of events every year. Let's have our own television AV event company." So we created Murray Media World, and we do the AV for St. Jude Children's Hospital, Dr. Pepper, Boys and Girls Club, Wipeout Kids Cancer, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Salvation Army. I mean, it doesn't, we've done so many, and it's just every time it's just a little different, and most of them are nonprofits, and we really enjoy that. And then my daughter is a senior executive vice president of corporate event planning for a major bank that is known around the world. And I'm very proud of her. And she travels. She called me the other day. She's in Barcelona, for Pete's sake. And she just, and my son got married about 5 years ago. And about 2.5 years ago, I was blessed with a grandson.
What?
So oh gosh,
bonus. That's the bonus.
That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
My daughter was just engaged at Christmas, so look forward to her getting married. And it's just my two kids being Father of the Year. That's my legacy. That's who I am. That's what I'm about. And if I can help them create legacies of their own, and they've both started in their own well, my son, to win an Emmy with your son going to Normandy. I mean, my gosh, that sounds like a movie. I mean, it's the highlight of my professional career.
I could see that.
And so It
all the
is
time.
just, it's really neat.
It is really neat. If in
Yeah.
it, you're so much. So we're definitely gonna come back and do this again because I mean, each story is just like a peacock with all the feathers unfolding. You could go on
Well,
to
here's,
each.
here's, here's, oh, can we see do you see the
Oh yeah,
NBC over there?
NBC. Yeah,
I don't,
we see the
NBC Sports.
BC. We see
Yeah,
part of
there's
it.
no,
Oh, is
no,
that?
no peacock there.
Oh,
That's the
that's
NBC Sports one.
okay. That's where the
Yeah,
peacock came from,
yeah,
right?
that's
But
right.
you, every leader in America, right? So if they were to just embrace one simple principle, what would that principle be? Just simple.
Um, well, I think I'd have to give you a trifecta. Be kind, courteous, and respectful, which I say every day is part of my, you just, make a difference in the lives of those that need it most. Just be that go-giver, not just the go-getter. We have to be a go-getter, but just knowing that you can put a smile on somebody's face or help somebody that has a childhood disease, or anybody. It doesn't have to be a child. It could be, I just, it just, I can't I just be nice.
I know. Can't everybody just be
It's
nice?
yeah,
It
just
seems,
be respectful of one another.
yeah.
It's
This is a
yeah,
forgotten art for sure.
it is.
And
It's
and
it's kind of sad but true.
it's gotten.
It
I
just
mean, just in the last few years, it's just intensified. But it
yeah,
you you've spent decades in the media world, right? So if you wish
right.
the public to better understand how stories shape the culture of a nation, I mean, just what little I've seen, I mean, in like a few years, just whoo, all of those things are just thrown out in how people treat each other. What would you wish? How could you, encapsulate that through, teaching the media or through the media?
Oh gosh, that's
It's a big one,
well,
right? It's,
the media is so different than when I was there too.
yeah.
Um, and I don't want to make our conversation political, but I just,
Yeah.
you just have to be honest. You have to be respectful. You have to just move forward in a positive, productive way with great passion and purpose and who you are and what you're all about. And just understand that there are always different points of view, but be respectful to what is in front of you, and know that there are different points of view, but just let's remember who we are and what we can do and the difference we can make, and anytime we can help somebody, just extending a helping hand in whatever way, shape, or form it might be.
Yeah.
It just you go home at night and you put your head on your pillow, you're going to be proud of what you were a part of and what you did and the difference you made. It
That,
just
that's
it's what
right.
it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your message is something the world needs right now. It's a reminder leadership isn't about ego, it's about service, character. And
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
after hearing your story today, I'm reminded of something simple, that champions aren't defined by trophies they win, but they're defined by the lives they live. You've lifted up many, and I just want to say God bless you, and I appreciate having you on this show. And your words are wisdom jewels that they should be in some songs, or more, more of it going out as you speak. And
Mhm.
but if you want to put a cherry on top of all of this today, what would you like to say?
A cherry on top of this. Oh my gosh, you have such great questions, and I don't have good answers for your
Oh, come
wonderful
on.
questions. I'm trying to think if I could put a
Of all
cherry
the
on
things,
top.
right?
Just step back and see what's in front of you and say, how can I make that better? How can I make her happier? How can I him make him more trustworthy and confident in his leadership abilities? I just any way you can be that difference maker and be that difference maker. And again, I go right back to living your life not just as a go getter, but as a go giver. and knowing that you can just put a smile on somebody's face, or know how much they appreciate what you've just done for you. Bring tears to somebody's eyes, have your heart start pounding and pumping, give just thrills and chills up your back because you made a difference in somebody. That's to me, that's the ultimate. It's just fun to see somebody smile, and that they're smiling because you made a difference in their lives in a positive, productive way. It simply doesn't get any better than that. It really doesn't. I just, it's pretty,
That's it.
sounds
Amen.
pretty simple, but it means so much.
Yes,
It means so much.
it does. And you've meant so much being here. So again, I want to thank you for making it here. And
Oh, I can close by
do.
wrapping it up with when you were talking about the what you leave with a person. I told you that the person, one of the people that I met that was just incredible, was Roger Staubach was one of my favorite people. The Dallas Cowboys quarterback, led them to their first two Super Bowls, and Super Bowl 6 and 12. But he was in the Navy, went to the Naval Academy, and was in the Navy for 5 years before he ever played football. He's one of 10 players in the history of sports to win a Heisman Trophy, and he did that at the Naval Academy in 1963, and then go on to play in the National Football League and be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As a matter of fact, my son and I, and Tim Brown, who's one of those 10 players, a former wide receiver at Notre Dame, and went to high school in Dallas, and then went on to play for the Oakland Raiders in the NFL. But he's a dear friend and a great guy. And when he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, there were 3 or 4 of us that said, how many players have won a Heisman Trophy and then gone to the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Yeah. And the NFL, nobody knew about it. Nobody knew that even existed out there. Oh my gosh, how many were there? Well, there were only 10. Wow. And so we put together a movie called The Perfect 10 that ran 2-3 years ago before the Super Bowl, on the eve of the Super Bowl, Saturday night. Fox outbid everybody and said, we want that. Yeah. And so that's what we did. Wow. That's what we did. And so we were most excited about that. And but what I was going to say is, aside from somebody like a Roger Staubach or somebody like that, who's a dear friend that I have all the respect in the world for, I'd probably have Jesse Owens. And I'll tell you a story. I hope this isn't too long, but no. I met Jesse when I was first in broadcasting. I was still in college, and I got a call, and they said, Scott, would you come MC this commencement exercise at this university? We'd like to have you come over. We have Jesse Owens, the Olympic gold medalist, coming in, and he's going to be our keynote speaker. I said, oh my gosh, my mother bought me his book when I was in 6th grade, his biography. Oh, I'd so like to meet him. So I went over and met him, and he was just awesome, just awesome. And as you know, an African-American man, so had gone through some tough times back in the early 1900s. Well, the next year and we became, I went over there and I told him about my book and everything. And he said, oh, that's great, Scott. And he said, great. It's very nice to meet you. Well, the next year I get another call from another university. Would I come do their commencement exercise? I said, I'd be happy to. And I didn't ask who the keynote speaker was going to be. And I get there, and as I'm walking across the parking lot, I see this guy go, hey, how are you? It's Scott, isn't it? Scott? Is that you, Scott? And I looked as best I could, and as I got closer, I saw that it was Jesse. I said, oh my gosh, Mr. Owens, how are you? And he said, Scott, it's not Mr. Owens. It's Jesse. Remember we met last year? We're friends. And I said, yes, sir. How are you? Well, good. So we went in and talked again and enjoyed lunch and listened to him give his speech and what have you. And when we left, I said, it's been great to see you again. He said, well, we have to stay in touch. And I said, okay. So he gave me his address, and I said, this is great. Well, he told me the story of how he grew up and what have you. And he grew up in Alabama, but when he was very young, he was like 12 or 13, he was picking cotton. And, there was a lot of racism going on back in the South back in those days. He had to pick cotton after school every day. Well, he had real bad allergies, so bad that he was missing school and it was tough to breathe. So his parents decided they'd send him to Ohio, where his grandmother lived. And so he went and lived with his grandmother outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Well, when he got into high school, he got involved with track and field, and people got to see what an incredible athlete he was. Well, he started setting national records in track and field. And so next thing you know, this is into the 30s. Then he's ready to go to college, and he goes to Ohio State. Well, what happens is he doesn't go on an athletic scholarship. He goes on an academic scholarship. And then he also was a great athlete and starts setting all kinds of national records in college. Well, the Olympics are coming up, going to be held in Berlin, Germany in 1936. Well, in 1936, Adolf Hitler was beginning to come into power. He didn't like blacks. He didn't like Jews. He didn't like any minority. And so Jesse's over there taking part in the Olympics and becomes the first American to win 4 gold medals in the games. So they are just, so excited. And here's Jesse Owens, and he's done this for America. Well, it comes time for Hitler to hand out the awards. He hands them out to all the people that have won the gold medals. But it comes time to hand 4 of them out to Jesse Owens. He's not doing it. He's black. He's not doing that. He doesn't deserve them. And he walked away and never gave him his awards. Now, picture that happening today.
Ouch.
An athlete of any race or color or creed.
Right.
Oh, my gosh, it'd be front page news,
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't hear it.
Not Jesse Owens. Gentleman as he was, he walked away and never said a thing. 15 years went by, and he has still never said a thing. Never got his medals. He gets a call in 1951, 15 years later, from the Harlem Globetrotters. Jesse, we're going to Berlin, Germany, the very stadium where 80,000 people watched you win your gold medals. They're going to watch us play basketball. Why don't you be our surprised guest and come with us? He said, I'd love to. So they never told a soul they were coming. They get over there. They introduce him. 15 years ago, this gentleman was, a gold medalist here at the Olympics. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jesse Owens. The crowd of 80,000 stand and give him a standing ovation for 15 minutes as he walks around and waves to everybody.
Wow.
Well, then the Harlem Globetrotters play their basketball game on the very field that Jesse won his gold medals. And then they come up into the stands into an area that had been cordoned off for the Harlem Globetrotters and what have you. And Jesse's with them. And Konrad Adenauer, who's the chancellor of Germany at the time, he stands up and he's got the microphone here, and Jesse's here, and the Globetrotters behind him. And he said, well, ladies and gentlemen, 80,000, all of you, what did you think of the Harlem Globetrotters? Wasn't that something? Well, they just thought it was phenomenal and everything. And he said, and 15 years ago, this gentleman to my right here, Jesse Owens, won 4 gold medals, and you got a chance to meet him. Wasn't it something? And they all stood up and gave him a standing ovation for 5 minutes. Then they all sit down, and he says, turns to Jesse, and he said, Jesse, as I said 15 years ago, you won 4 gold medals here at the games in Germany. But unfortunately, the dictator of this country did not, in front of the 80,000 people that were gathered here and the entire country of Germany, they didn't extend a hand of congratulations to you because of your color. He said, well, now, 15 years later, on behalf of these 80,000 fans, the entire country of Germany, I extend not 1 hand of congratulations to you. I extend 2 hands of congratulations to not only an Olympic champion, but the ultimate gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jesse Owens. And they stand for another 10 minutes. That was Jesse Owens.
Oh, man.
And so I got a chance to meet him, and I've shared that story when I do my talk. But he was, well, as we left, Jesse said, we got to stay in touch. And I said, we will. So we wrote letters, notes back and forth to each other and holidays and whatever. And then I'm trying to remember, it was like 1979, 1980, just around that time. All of a sudden, I get a letter in the mail, and I open it up, and it says, "Dear Mr. Murray, I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to you for being the ultimate gentleman to Jesse in his latter years, in his senior years in life. He just absolutely adored you, and you were so kind and respectful to him. You just could not have been nicer to him, and you have no idea how much it meant to him and to me that you would be such a gentleman and be so nice to Jesse, someone that you had never, ever met before. So please always know how special it was to Jesse and how much I appreciate it." Signed, and it was his wife had written a note to me that I still have to this day. Unbelievable.
That's so beautiful.
That all but brings tears to my eyes, remembering Jesse Owens.
I get
and
it.
That's what we need in this world today.
Yes. Amen.
We need so much more of that. It didn't cost a dime. All you have to be is kind, courteous, and respectful. And just be caring enough to know that you can make a difference of someone out there that has just been above and beyond or needs a helping hand in whatever shape or form it might be.
Amen.
So,
yes, it definitely brings the tears to the heart.
Yeah,
for sure.
Really.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow, what a golden story. That's perfect. That left me speechless.
Oh. Well, I hope I haven't talked too long. It's always fun to reminisce and think back to some of these stories.
And it's so wonderful.
The people you meet. Yeah.
Because people will never know that, and just having it digitalized so people can hear the wisdom is just golden. And
right.
And that's why we just have to do it again. Right.
Oh, I'd do anything for you, my friend.
You're so good, sweetheart.
No, just let me know what we need to do and when we need to do it. But, I just hope all your listeners and viewers and what have you out there know that the importance of making a difference in the lives of those that need it most. It simply doesn't get any better than that. So wish you all well, and thanks for your time today.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Money 911. If today's conversation inspired you, share it with someone who needs a little more hope, leadership, and humanity in their life. Because the truth is, the world doesn't need just more success. It needs more champions of character. And as Scott Murray reminds us, a purposeful life is not about me. It's about we. Until next time, this is Kris Miller reminding you, when you protect your health, honor your purpose, and build your wealth with wisdom, you create life filled with freedom, peace of mind, and legacy. And that is the real definition of prosperity.
I've created the Safe Money Blueprint. This is the same strategy that thousands of my clients have used to feel secure about their financial future. And you can get it free at healthymoneyhappylife.com/blueprint.
There's so much to learn about healthy money. I hope today's discussion brings you one step closer to securing and protecting your future. So you can get started on the right foot, go to meetwithkrismiller.com and schedule your free financial fitness strategy session. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Money 911 so you don't miss our next episode, which includes health, wealth, and peace of mind.